Hello again, and welcome back. I missed y'all last week. I've been going through it. I've been going through the trenches. I actually started a new job that I worked 1 week at and quit. We'll get into that a little bit more later on this episode, but I just did not I did not make the time to create a podcast episode for last week, so I took my own advice and took the week off. I did not feel inspired. I did not feel motivated. It would not have been authentic for me to show up last week. So here we are. We're back. So in this week's episode, we are going to talk about control leading to self-sabotage. But first, the astrology update for this week. Since I missed last week, let me update you by saying that we had the beginning of Aries season and the March equinox, which is the first day of spring, on the same day. We had that last week. And this week, we have Venus retrograde entering Pisces on Thursday, which will be encouraging us to self-reflect and engage more in self-care. We also have a solar eclipse in Aries on Saturday that will be igniting fresh starts and inspired action. With spring arriving last week, we are now beginning to emerge from our hibernation and getting ready to get back to work. It's time to figure out what inspires you and step into the version of yourself that supports that you desire to be. So let's get into this episode. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control certain things, often too many things at once, the more things seem to fall apart? It's like the tighter you grip, the more things slip through your fingers. There's actually a reason for this. Trying to control every situation can lead to self-sabotage without us even realizing it. A lot of control comes from fear. The fear of uncertainty, failure, rejection, or even getting hurt. It makes sense. If you've been through unpredictable or painful experiences, your brain tries to protect you by making sure nothing goes off track. But here's the problem. Life is unpredictable, and no amount of planning or overthinking will change that. The more we try to force things to go exactly as we imagine, the more stressed and anxious we become when things don't work out perfectly. I watch myself do this from time to time. Often, for me, it's about future events. I try so hard to control what happens now when that event isn't even taking place for some time yet. I've fallen into this recently with my divorce looming this year. I have been living alone for over a year and a half now, but it feels like everything will change once the divorce is final. Like it's entirely up to me at that point. My parents are both gone. I don't speak to my family. I don't even live near anywhere that is familiar to me. I am a transplant to San Angelo. It isn't really feeling like home. So it'll all be entirely up to me soon. And that is fucking scary. I got desperate for safety and solidity that I took a job at a really popular boutique here, and after 1 week, realized that it is not my scene. I have worked way too hard the past year to achieve peace and regulate my nervous system that I will not be enthralled in the trap of flattery or gossip amongst my peers when that is not who I am authentically. My purpose in life is not to sell more material things to a society that has too much to begin with. So I immediately recognized that the universe gave me the feelings of others' desperation to show me my own. We are all a mirror to each other after all. So of course it showed me my own energy being reflected back to me, going into that position in the people that I experienced there. I did not like being shown that side of me, but it empowered me to realize, much sooner than I would have before, that although I was great at that position, the fast-paced, consumerist portion of it was definitely not for me. I needed that little bit of outside validation after hermiting for so long to remind me of who I am. Perfectionism plays a big role here too. When we expect ourselves or others to get everything right all the time, we set ourselves up for disappointment. And when things don't meet our high expectations, we might procrastinate, overanalyze, or even quit altogether. Because if it's not going to be perfect, why bother? That's how control turns into self-sabotage. Instead of helping us succeed, it keeps us stuck. This over-focus can cause us to freeze in the face of obstacles, making us less likely to move forward, to take risks, or to adapt to changing circumstances. When things don't go exactly as we envision them, we may feel like we're failing, which creates even more stress and pressure. When perfection becomes the goal, every minor mistake feels catastrophic, leading to frustration, anxiety, and burnout. Instead of progressing or learning from mistakes, we become trapped in a cycle of overthinking, procrastination, and avoidance. We may even abandon projects altogether because we can't control every aspect of them, or because we're too afraid of failure. The paradox lies in the fact that this attempt to control everything often makes situations worse. The more we try to force things into place, the more tension builds up. When we're rigid in our expectations, we're unable to adapt to the fluid nature of life, and that leads to the very chaos we were trying to avoid in the first place. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how hard you squeeze, the water slips through your fingers. The more tightly we grip, the more we lose control. Ultimately, the illusion of control keeps us from seeing the beauty in uncertainty and change. Life is unpredictable, and trying to dictate every outcome often blocks us from discovering new opportunities or learning valuable lessons. If we tie our sense of success or happiness to one specific outcome, any little detour feels like failure. But life doesn't work like that. Things rarely go exactly as planned, and the people who thrive are the ones who can roll with the punches instead of resisting change. The key is to find balance, trusting the process, being adaptable, and letting go of the need to control every single thing. When we stop trying to control everything, we create space for creativity, growth, and peace. Rather than clinging to an illusion, we can flow with life, and in doing so, we find greater harmony, clarity, and freedom. So, how do we break this cycle? First, we have to accept that control is mostly an illusion. It's okay to plan and set goals, but we also need to stay flexible and open to different possibilities. Instead of striving for perfection, we can focus on progress and learning. It's about shifting from, I need this to go exactly my way, to, I trust myself to handle whatever comes. It also helps to get curious about why we feel the need to control so much in the first place. Is it fear of failure? Fear of rejection? Once we figure that out, we can start working through those fears instead of letting them run the show. This is where a major shift can take place, and where a good starting point may be for your healing journey towards learning to surrender and stand in your power. If you find yourself trying to control every outcome or every step of a situation, so much so that it has become hard for you to even make a decision to start or engage in something, then begin by working on trusting yourself. Trust that whatever decision you make is the correct or right decision in this moment. You are making your choice based on the knowledge that you have right now. Recognize when it is fear that is stopping or forcing you, or when it just doesn't feel right, therefore doesn't align. Fear is pushy, intuition is solid. Fear will say, what if? Intuition will say, even if. There will likely be fear involved with any kind of change, but that healthy fear can be used to fuel your direction. Here's an example. You have been curious about turning one of your hobbies into a side hustle, maybe even a main source of income. You are comfortable at your current job, but you know that it's not your purpose in life. It's just what pays the bills right now. You begin to do your research on what it would take to start your own business and become overwhelmed quickly by all the things that need to be done to get yourself started. So much so that fear tells you you have already failed. You won't be successful because it will take so long to even get started and to become something with it. There's so little within your control that you just don't do it. You've sabotaged yourself with overanalyzing all the mechanisms it takes to start instead of trusting your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. On the flip side of that, maybe you see all the work involved in becoming an entrepreneur, but doing something you love ignites a spark within you that while you have the luxury of a job that supports your basic needs, you make time to hone your skills in your hobby. You begin sharing on social media what you are doing, planning markets or events to go to on the weekends, and you start putting yourself out there. Soon enough, that hobby has become a side hustle that you now get to decide if you want to invest more time and energy into, which would require leaving your job and trusting that you can continue to work and grow with your business and your success. You have to be willing to change and grow with it and accept every step of success while having a larger goal to work towards. Remember from an earlier episode, success begins when you do. Here is an exercise that you can try the next time you find yourself trying to over-control everything. The first step is awareness. Take a moment to think about a recent situation where you felt a strong need to control the outcome. Maybe it was at work, in a relationship, or with a personal goal. Now, write about this situation. What were you trying to control? How did it make you feel? Did it create more stress or tension? Your next step is release. Next time you notice yourself trying to control a situation or an outcome, stop and take 3 deep breaths. Inhale deeply for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. This will ground you in the present moment. It's going to feel very weird at first, especially if you are kind of face to face with someone, but we tend to forget that there is a lot of growth and productivity in the silence between our conversations. So start to get comfortable with taking those moments for yourself to reflect in the moment instead of that gut reaction that we tend to have, especially as you are emerging and learning along your healing journey. As you breathe, mentally repeat this mantra. I release the need to control. I trust the process and embrace the unknown. The next step is shift to adaptability. Ask yourself, what would it look like if I didn't control this situation? How could I adapt or flow with it instead? Write down how you can approach a future situation with more flexibility. What's one thing you could do differently to embrace uncertainty? And the final step, which I feel is the most important one, is self-compassion. After completing this exercise, give yourself credit for recognizing the need to let go. Remember, change takes time, and you're already taking the first step towards freedom. Start to recognize that our healing journey is not about changing every portion of ourselves. It's about looking at those less desirable sides of ourselves, like the over-controlling side, and learning to embrace it and accept it with compassion. We are not trying to immediately change that portion of ourselves. First, we need to accept that that is what we have used to survive and to get through life. Accept it, show it love, then we will be willing to shift or make changes to where that feeds into a past version of ourselves or where we can change it to grow into the version that we want to be. At the end of the day, control doesn't equal security, and letting go doesn't mean giving up. It just means trusting yourself enough to know that you can handle life as it comes without sabotaging yourself in the process. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be back with you. I hope that you found any of this podcast enlightening or helpful to you. Let me know on social media. I'm getting a little more active on there now, now that I'm emerging from my little cocoon and my hibernation too. So let me know if there's anything that I can help support you with, or if this exercise has helped you with noticing where you can show yourself more compassion through trying to control every aspect of a situation. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again next week.